Okay, it says recording. Does everyone see that on their screen? All right, good to go. Fantastic. All right, I have proof. I have witnesses. That's great.
Yay.
All right, should we kick it off, Dons? I know we're waiting for some more people to hop on, but
Yeah, let's go ahead and start.
okay.
So welcome everyone. It's Donna and Lauren from the Sacred Sustainable Practice. Sacred Sustainable Practice is a 3-month course that we've developed to support coaches, facilitators, healers, and other entrepreneurs either create, expand, or reinvent their practice. And we're going to do that by helping them learn both the practical skills of enrolling in ways that feel really authentic, and also on working on the inner mindset and the inner ways of supporting yourself so that you can go out and take action in your practice. So in honor of that course, what we decided to do is we've created this 4-week mini course called What Gets in the Way of You Building Your Sacred Sustainable Practice. And this week's topic is actually going to be on who's running your practice. We're going to tell you more about what that means in a little bit.
Dun, dun, dun. It ain't who you think it is. Well,
yeah.
Maybe it is who you think it is, but.
Yeah. So you want to tell them why we're doing this series, Laura? Like what?
Oh, you know I do. So really, there were a few reasons we wanted to run this series. So the first is, we really wanted to offer something free where we could really help people start to build their resiliency and their skill set and start to take a look at where are they at with their practices? What are some of the things that are getting in the way? We wanted to really give you as much material as we could within a 4-week series. And then again, as Donna said, in honor of our 3-month course, we also really wanted to give you a felt experience of who we are, how we teach, the place that we teach from, what we're about. And so our hope is that, again, we're going to cram in as much information as we can in these 4 weeks. And then our hope is that some of you will decide to join us for that full 3 months. And so that's the game that we're playing in the next few weeks. So again, if you haven't been on a call with us before, that's fine. Each of our modules kind of are standalones, but you can also ask us if you want any of the recordings from the last 2 weeks as well. For those of you that don't know us, I feel like it's always nice I was saying to Donna earlier, it's nice to know the farmer that gives you your veggies, just like it's nice to know who is sailing the ship. So John's like, mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like, I know one of them. I know one of the farmers, right, John?
So to just give you a brief rundown of who we are. So again, Donna and I are both running this program, and my name is Lauren, and I have been working for many years. So my background is I was the director of enrollment and program development for many years at an organization called the School of Womanly Arts. And I had thousands of enrollment conversations with people and really did a lot of training on the art of enrolling clients into your practice. I'm now more of a coach. I do more enrollment training. And I've also studied a lot of the soul-centered perspective. Donna will talk about that a little bit, different angles. I've done transformational coaching, worked with Steve Chandler, and have come from the perspective, done a lot on ego versus soul, learning how to work with both parts of that within your work. So that's me, Donna.
Yes, I'm Donna, and you are fabulous, Lauren.
Thank you.
So I'm Donna, and I have, Lauren and I both worked together, as she said, for many years. She did enrollment, I did operations, so I have a very structured operational mind, but I've also done a huge deep dive in my life around soul-centered education. I have my master's degree in spiritual psychology from the University of Santa Monica. I also have I've completed courses there in soul-centered leadership, soul-centered professional coaching. So you're seeing the theme here. There's a lot of soul-based work that I do. I've had my own practice for almost 2 years now. Through Lauren's enrollment coaching and my own work that I've done, I have, thank God, replaced my full-time income with my coaching practice. And it's because of what I went through in my own evolution as a coach that Lauren and I talked a lot during those transitions for both of us. It's like, that's what brought us together to do this work, was like, okay, we have something here to support people, because it's no joke when you're going out and either creating or recreating or expanding your practice. There's so much that goes along with it. It's not just knowing the skills on how to enroll or, how to get people onto your calendar. It's like, how do you work with all the shit that comes up as a result of that? So
Shit that flies.
Shit that flies. So And one thing you'll know about both of us is we're very sassy. So if you're someone that doesn't like swearing, we apologize in advance.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so that's a little bit about us. And now what we want to do is kind of set the stage and get grounded. So we really invite everyone on this call. It's like, and I already see everybody's in, here, but it's like, really, you are someone that holds a lot of people in your own business, right? You're the one that's typically holding for everybody. So we want to give you the opportunity to be held. This is an opportunity for you to receive, to be supported, to relax. Lauren and I have got you. We're in the container. It's an opportunity for you to like put everything else aside, put that phone on, flip it over so you're not looking at it. Just, if you've got any distractions around you, just kind of like allowing yourself to just be here and be present. So one way that I help clients do that is we do a little grounding. And so I invite everybody at this moment to just, put down anything that you might be holding, sit back further in your chair. Just going to take you through a little quiet, guided grounding process. It's an opportunity for you to like let go of anything you were doing prior, letting go of anything that's going to happen after. Sometimes it helps if you like sink back into your chair, maybe put your hand on your heart or any place on your body that helps you ground. Maybe close your eyes for a moment. And let's go ahead all together and take a deep breath in and let it out. And so, dear Father, Mother, God, and whatever other word you would prefer, we ask for the clearing. We are so grateful to be here today as a group in service to each of these beloveds, building, creating, or reinventing their sacred, sustainable practice. So we just ask that anything that no longer serves them, anything that is ready to be released, that be done so now with ease and grace. We also ask that each of them be open and attuned to exactly what they need to hear today. There's no efforting, there's no place to get. This is just really an opportunity to be in community, to be supported, to be guided, and to just awaken to any parts inside that may need attention, that may need to be served, so that you have more freedom, more flexibility, more just awareness within yourself of and being deeply connected to the practice and the service that you provide on this planet. Each of these people have stepped forward, willing to be of service, willing to contribute to others in their lives in whichever way they do. And so we're so happy to give back to them today, to let them fill up, learn something new about themselves, and then go out into the world and be even more in their practice. We are so grateful for this opportunity to serve each of them. And so it is.
Thanks for that, Dons.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it always helps, no matter what.
I know.
So as we get started, we wanted to actually start with a question this week. And so what we're going to ask you all to do, and Donna's going to put these questions in the chat in just a moment, but we want each of you to just, if you feel comfortable, write the answer to these questions just in the chat. So what is your business? And what is getting in the way of you building, expanding, or recreating your practice? AKA, what are you struggling with the most? Like, so what's going on in your practice? Just give us like a one sentence. What are you struggling with most in your practice? And then what emotions or thoughts are getting triggered from that place? What's it bringing up for you? So Donna's going to throw that in the chat so you can take a look at it. And just take 1 minute. And whatever comes to mind, doesn't have to be thorough. It can just be 1 or 2 sentences. Just where you're at right now. Mm-hmm.
These are so great. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, Maria, I hear you on that. Trying to build it and homeschooling at the same time.
Oh.
Yeah, Hannah, right on.
Okay, we're just going to take another like 30 seconds. Thank you so much, everyone. Good one, John.
Mm-hmm.
All is overwhelming. Hear you, Kathy. Yeah. Getting the word out there. Support.
Yeah,
Okay.
Claire, get out of my own way, Claire Marie. Yeah, I hear you.
All right, Laura, should we keep?
Yes, and you can keep typing as we go. It's just really helpful for us to hear and for each of us to see where we're at in our own individual journeys. Thank you for your transparency, everyone. This is great.
Yeah, and to see you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
Another big reason. I know when I was starting, it was like I would have these fears and I'd be like, I must be the only one feeling this. It's like, no, no, not really.
I know. No, not really.
Totally. So thank you, yeah, for doing that. So as we mentioned at the top, what we're going to be talking about today is like, who's running this business? Who's running this practice? So as we take steps to create, reinvent, or grow our practices, we often bump up against inner resistance. I mean, that actually, resistance, doubts, and fears show up anytime we're doing something new and outside of our comfort zone, which many of you already know, right? And then when we do that, when we're in that spot, it leads us to spin our wheels, make impulsive choices, avoid taking actions, or want to just get out of the game because we don't like how it feels, right? So what we want to do is slow it down and it's like, what is going on in that moment, right? In those moments, we're not connected to our inner guidance, our wisdom, or our truth. Instead, other parts of ourselves find themselves in charge of us, okay? Could be our ego, whose whole job is to maintain comfort, safety, and security. Could be a younger part of ourselves that just wants someone else to take care of us. Could be my inner teenager that wants to rebel against things, or the wallflower who doesn't like to be seen, the people pleaser who doesn't want to rock the boat. There's like a whole committee in there sometimes of parts that are like getting in the way of us being able to take the action that we want to take. And I know that can be super frustrating for people sometimes, like often in coaching and for those of us that have been in personal growth and development, we get frustrated with ourselves when we're like, we know what to do. We know better. Why am I not doing it? And then we start to turn on ourselves when that happens. So we really see is like one of the most important skills we can cultivate, and one that we'll be like spending a ton of time on in our 3-month program, is the ability to distinguish the voice of our truth. And when I say truth, I mean capital T truth, our inner guidance, our authentic, that which is authentic to us, and distinguish it between these other voices, okay? Not only that, not only being able to distinguish, but being able to learn how to work with those parts so that they are no longer as strong, that the goal would be that the ability to hear our inner guidance and follow it gets stronger than the voices. And that takes practice and working with. And that's why we want to create like a dojo for them. That's what we're doing in this program. So, because honestly, like we need to have access to our inner guidance, because when things happen, like, hello, a pandemic, or in order for us to take challenging actions, like I'm changing my fees, I need to have a talk with a client about, they're not keeping their agreements around starting on time, I'm making a proposal, I have to, I'm going to be on a podcast and I'm nervous about it. Like if we're not moving from our inner guidance and we're moving from our ego, then we can get really tripped up. And instead, when you start to listen to your inner guidance, you're more grounded, you feel more aligned, you start to experience more flow, less angst. I notice already in the difference, like having gone through the beginning of my practice and really been supported in working with those voices, let's say my fear voices around money and like, will I be able to make rent this month? Will I be able to pay my bills? What if I can't? What if no one shows up? Like, the more I've learned to be with those parts and give them reassurance and calm them down, then I'm not run by them anymore. In fact, they very rarely come up at this point, but I'm sure they'll come up again as I stretch and do new things. So that's why we want to teach you this. Let's see.
Well, I also think it's a time saver, right? I think when we're going to be talking a lot too about the practical elements of building your business or reinventing your business in our class as well. But I notice for me, when my authentic self is running the show and I'm guided by my inner wisdom, it doesn't necessarily mean doing 1,000 different things. It means listening for what is mine to do. But I think when we're coming from that ego place, we get frantic. We're like, oh my God, I got to post here and I got to do this and I got to all the things. And you can feel it rise. And so we waste a lot of time and energy, both on our kind of that emotional part, but also on the practical level of moving forward.
Totally.
Inner wisdom knows how to move forward better than our ego minds.
Totally. So let's talk a little bit about, we're going to learn a little bit today on like how to distinguish the different voices. So first of all, let's talk about our inner guidance. So I think I would venture to say from my work with people, it's like people experience it in different ways. For me, when I hear my inner voice, it has a quality of like it, but we have similar qualities, right? Like I feel grounded. I feel like there's just a space in my chest that feels open. Like I feel relaxed. Or I might feel enthusiastic because it's coming from, I feel enthusiasm for it. For me, it also shows up in, sometimes my solar plexus will flip. Like I'll get this flip, like, yep, you're on track. I've had other people describe it to me as like, they'll feel like a rush of energy that helps them recognize it. Or I had a friend that would say when she was thinking about different answers inside of herself, one would twinkle a little bit at her. I don't know exactly what that means, but her experience was like it kind of has a little bit sparkle to her as opposed to the other one. So it's really important that we each look at like, how does that, and I want you to each take a moment right now, is like, think about for yourself, how do you recognize when you're when you're making a move from your truth? How does that show up in your body, or when you're locating truth inside of you? So like, just take a moment. You don't have to write it in the chat or anything. Just for yourself, take a moment to like feel into that for yourself. Because we're going to want to come back to that when we go through the other parts so you can feel the difference between the two. And if you don't know, you can write that down too, because that's something that we'll be we'll be diving more into. It's like, how do I up the volume on that? How do I start testing out if I'm not good at that yet? That's great to be aware of, because knowing that we can help cultivate that. And we will over the 3 months. Just take another few seconds to do that before we dive into the ego. Ego gets such a bad rap.
Oh, Lisa, that's fun. When my inner voice speaks, there's a period at the end of the sentence.
Oh,
That's great.
I love that. All right. So, and you can come back to that. That was a noticing. So our egos. So the ego gets a pretty bad rap. It's like everyone's like wants to avoid the ego or get rid of it. And that's not the point of what we want to do at all. Our ego is there. It's designed to do its job, and it does it perfectly. It will do whatever it needs to do to keep what it thinks is keeping you safe, secure, and comfortable. Now, the problem with that is that we don't, when we're trying to go outside of there's times where we're stretching and we want to grow and we want to expand because our inner guidance is saying that. So we just want to be aware it's predictable. It's not a problem. When your ego starts showing up and giving you it starts to kick up a storm. It's just like what we want to get people to is like, okay, it's not a problem. Doesn't mean I'm not supposed to do it. Doesn't mean it's wrong. Doesn't mean, anything except my ego's doing its job. Okay. So We just want you to be, it's like, just, hey, it's happening. No problem. It's doing that. Now you could, well, we won't get into serving it. Or how we'll work with it. I just want you to be aware, like, that's the ego. Now, the other thing I want you to be aware of is, like, we're going to go into, Lauren and I are going to start describing some different flavors of the ego. Like, there's definitely different aspects that start and parts that start to show up in resistance or in, you know, that get kicked up when we're doing certain things in our practice. The one thing I want you to, the orientation we want you to have towards these parts is they are designed, they think they're doing a loving thing for you. They think they're being a loving ally. They want to keep you safe. They don't want you to get hurt or disappointed. So they're not bad or wrong and something to eradicate. But we just want to get, like, if we know they're doing something to love us, that they think is loving, now we can relate to it in a way of, like, oh, thank you. I just don't need that help right now. Thank you.
I always say you want to put them in the driver's seat. Put your ego in the put your ego in the passenger seat.
Right.
Not the driver's seat. Like, it can be in the car with you, but just not driving the car.
Totally. So, Laura, do you want to start us off on, like, the different flavors?
Yeah. So I don't know why, but this topic tickles me, even though it shouldn't, because internally it, like, drives me bananas. But so there's, like, as Donna said, there's many voices that our ego takes on, members of the committee, as we say, and many different parts. So we will notice that different parts may show up at different points in the practice building or in the reinventing, or one that you haven't seen in a while comes back again. It really depends on what you're working on. I do find, like, I have had all of these at different points, but I tend to notice that there are some frequent flyers that are my go-tos, like my more common ones that I'm like, oh, there it is again, and you can almost, like, set your watch to it. And I also, one thing that's super valuable, if you work with somebody else, this is a great thing to ask them as well, of what are their kind of frequent flyer triggers as well, so that you can start to notice when they shut down or when they react. You can start to figure out, you know, what's going on. It's also good for your clients too. I always like to think of these different versions as different versions of your little kid, right? Like, it is your little kid. And oftentimes these voices are voices that may not be ours. They may be voices from our parents, things that we were taught, things that we were told. So you'll kind of notice, like, I can notice in some of mine, is that mine? Is that my voice? Or was that something that that was given to me or was inherited? So just kind of feel into that as well. One thing I also want to note is that, and this is so important to know, because I think when we're building our practices, our resistance kicks up so much. And the closer we get to getting there, the closer we get to selling that program, to enrolling those clients, the more the resistance will get loud, potentially, if you don't know how to work with it yet. Again, if you have years of working with these things, they won't get as loud. But this first time around, when you are working through some of those places where you've been wanting to stay safe, it will get louder and make you think, no, bad, turn back, don't do it, we're gonna die, like, don't do it. But that is not actually the case. So we just want to be able to, so the reason that we have the word sacred as part of our mission, sacred sustainable practice. So the sustainable is giving you practices, but the sacred piece is about understanding that we are playing in sacred. There is a place where our soul is asking of us to cultivate new ways. It is calling us forward. And whenever we're building our practice, we are being called to look at our shit, to release old beliefs and emotional patterns, to learn how to work with our emotions, thoughts, and fears. Like, all of this stuff comes up, particularly in that line of thought leadership or coaching or healing. It comes up for us. And so our goal in all of this is to go into it consciously, like, really look at, you know, what are the challenges and how do we look at them as opportunities for our soul's growth? And again, the more we see them, the more we can use them versus fight against or avoid or shut down or just stop building our practice altogether.
Make us wrong.
Yeah, make us wrong. And we all go through it. Again, Donna and I still go through it.
We just went through it yesterday.
Yeah, we just went through it yesterday, and we just had a conversation about our triggers. We were like, well, isn't this funny? Like, here we are. Here we are. I think also when you teach the work, whatever you're teaching always comes back up in your own life too, which is always fun. Okay, so the last thing I want to say before we go into these is that, so as we go through these, we're going to ask you a question at the end around kind of which ones are yours. So I just want you to jot down in a journal and a notebook which ones you resonate most with. We were just talking about that resonance. So just like which ones kind of are like, oh, yeah, I do that. So just kind of start to notice which ones tend to show up for you, and maybe what's showing up for you right now as well.
Yeah,
So,
and if it's right there on the tip of your tongue, write down where that shows up. Like for instance, for me, people pleaser will start to show up when like a client's late for a session, but I don't want to like call them out on it because my people, or not call them out on it, but call them forward because maybe it's been a pattern. But like my people pleaser might get kicked up, like, oh, I don't want to like say anything. Or like if I'm putting out an offer, another part of me might show up. So like if you can track where that part shows up, that'd be fun to just for you to know. Yeah.
and then
All
again,
right.
you'll have more time to dive into it right at the end of this. Okay, so let's do it. All right, so the first one, and one of my personal go-tos, is the people pleaser. So we all know, well, many of us know this one well. This is the part of us that is making the decisions from the, I don't want to rock the boat and deal with others' discomfort. I hear this a lot in, I don't want to feel salesy because I don't want people to be mad at me or make people uncomfortable in any way.
Yeah.
The people pleaser is the one that shows up again when you're thinking of raising your pricing, when you're needing to call someone out about rescheduling a session last minute. I notice this a lot in enrollment conversations, actually. I used to do this all the time, and I talked about this on the first week when I'd get to that point of somebody's resistance and I really wanted to speak loving truth to that person and really ask questions, and I was so afraid of offending, my people pleaser turned on, and then I didn't get in there as far as I wanted to go because I was so afraid of offending. And to be honest, like I wasn't able to sell as effectively until I really got a handle on that people pleaser and got really brave in starting to stand up and starting to lean into more of those conversations. So all of these have a sacred opportunity that goes with them. And the opportunity of the people pleaser is really cultivating your ability to honor your truth. So really honoring what is true for you and then learning how to speak from that place.
Yes.
It could
So
be
good.
boundaries. It could be speaking when you're nervous to speak, any of those.
So good. Oh my God, there's so many. I'm so excited. Okay, so the next one, and again, we're going to give you a list in the chat at the end. The next one's the overly responsible one. So when your overly responsible one is running, this one is tricky because it sounds very logical and reasonable. She will, like she'll come up with a list of why it won't work. And, she has a lot of worries and doubts. This part's on the lookout for problems. Their orientation will be focused on getting things right and not making mistakes. This part will tend to show up as very overly serious, lacking a lot of joy, play, and fun. Like, it's like your inner guidance might be like, you need a break. And the overly responsible one's like, but you still have to get the curriculum done. You got to post things, or you were supposed to reach out to that client. Like that will start to happen. So this part will feel restrained in what she thinks is possible. Like she's not very open to possibility or looking for creative solutions. She'll have a lot of rules. Again, isn't able to rest or relax in the process. So the sacred opportunity of this one is cultivating your connection to something greater than you, whether the divine, the universe, something that which is greater than you, and cultivating a deeper trust in the process. Like that one will be like, if I don't do it, nobody else will. And so, that's the overly responsible one. All right, Laura, next.
One thing I also want to mention about egos is I kind of look at these as like different layers of ourselves. There's this stuff that like keep us from, like if we think of kind of our inner guidance as that light part of ourselves, all of these kind of ego layers are just like these like kind of lines, these like boxes around us. So when I think about the overly responsible one, I think about how I go so much into my head, and it's like I'm in my box and I can't see that creative flowing part of myself. And again, none of these are bad. It's just that when they're running the show the whole time, they get in our way. All right, so this third one I was in for many a year, and this one is the rebel, or the inner teenager. So I still have like a loving connection with this one, but this one is the you can't make me one. This is the like, you can't tell me what to do, fuck you, you can't make me, whatever you say I'm gonna do the opposite. It's things like I don't need to, I'm going to watch Netflix for the next 4 days instead of dealing with my launch. I don't want to do this. Like, it's the devil on your shoulder that maybe is like, you need to take a break when you haven't really done anything yet. It's like, you don't want to do this right now, so why should you have to do this? It doesn't matter if you do this or not. This one refuses to be controlled and does not like rules, structure, being forced. So you can imagine that when my rebel comes out and Donna's overly responsible comes out, that is not always great, which is what we actually
say, Lauren. Just kidding.
Yeah, but it is, and it makes it really difficult because again, this one shuts you off to, it is just protecting you. It's protecting you from not moving forward by giving the big fuck you. And so it's definitely this very contracted counter thing. And again, it doesn't allow your deeper truths to come forward. So the sacred opportunity for this one is really learning how to honor and be in relationship with your commitment, your accountability, your responsibility, and reframing what those words and what that means to you. And again, we will be talking a lot in our class about how to actually do these things. Like, how do you actually start to lessen some of these voices? Okay.
Okay. Next is the perfectionist. Woo. Kind of want to get a raise of hands on that one. Who's got a perfectionist in there? Hannah Pector's got 2 hands up. Okay, Leslie's like, yes. People are like, I love the hands. Thank you for your honesty. So yeah,
the universal one.
I know, for sure. And it comes up in different times. So the perfectionist will struggle to like put anything out there until everything is perfect. I can't start until I have my website done and my branding and my, every little detail needs to be in place before I can do that. May struggle to get in the game to avoid any mess, like hates when things feel messy or out of control. That's me. I hate that. Like will mentally analyze or punish themselves if things aren't done to the highest standard. And again, all of those things stop us from getting in the game. So the sacred opportunity of this is to cultivate a willingness to try, a willingness to get creative, a willingness to play, to be perfectly imperfect, and to give yourself grace to like, and oftentimes this one comes from like, you had parents that were really on you or like made sure that you were like handling all the details, or that maybe that showed up in school, and it's like, makes sense why it's there, but we can see how it gets us out of the game. And in fact, I've actually been learning a lot about playing and being creative from John Ruby right there. I know you're looking at me. My brother-in-law, John Ruby, teaches a creativity class. And I invested in that because I realized I'm someone that can get very, as a operations person, I can get very focused on like the when do things happen. And like, there's not a lot of room for spontaneity. And taking John's weekly classes really helped me like open up to that. So anyway, that's the perfectionist. And Lauren, I'm realizing it's 12:35, so we might need to go at a little bit of a faster clip with each one of these.
Yes. Okay.
Even though we want to spend hours, there's so much goodness in here.
Yes. All right. So the next one is the wallflower, or the shy one. And I have definitely resonated with this one over time. This is the one that freezes in their tracks, that has the voice of, who am I to teach this? Who's going to listen to me? And this is the one that when you put yourself out there, every time you want to put yourself out there, your response is going to, out of fear of being rejected or out of fear of being judged, this one is going to want to do the, okay, never mind. I'm going to go hide in my corner. Forget I was even here. Forget I put this out. I'm just going to like backpedal into my corner. Like she loves being on the side. And so anytime particularly you want to put your voice out there, you want to put new information out there, I think deep down sometimes there's a fear of being destroyed. I know that sounds so dramatic, but there's a fear that I will be destroyed, I will not be okay, and so I'm going to run away and hide.
Yeah.
So the sacred opportunity for this one is to really learn to cultivate authentic expression, meaning really learning how to honor your voice and to cultivate safety within yourself so that you feel that you're able to share your gifts. There's a lot of self-soothing that happens with this one, a lot of kindness that has to happen with this one, so she can kind of come out of her shell.
Yes.
Lots of great creatives are wallflowers, and imagine what would happen if they stayed over there on the sidelines.
Yeah. No, come out.
Oh,
All right.
Camille, yeah, me too. I hear you.
Oh yeah, let's get a raise a hand. Always, we should be doing that on each one. Raise a hands. Wallflowers sometimes come out. Yeah. Oh, I acknowledge you for raising your hands, wallflowers. That's an act. Like, okay, risk averse. The risk averse one inside of you. So this is like the overly protective helicopter parent, the one that always wants to play it safe. Don't spend money on the support you need. Don't put that, like, you can't raise your prices. What if no one pays for anything? Or like, what if you do that TED Talk and you fail and it's like the worst TED Talk ever? Like, it's going to be its whole goal is keep you safe. Don't risk anything. Don't, but so with that one, the sacred opportunity is obviously to learn to listen and honor your own truth, your own inner guidance. And again, cultivating the trust in something greater than you. So that's because oftentimes, like, and again, if we look at this both from like when you want to invest in things or when you are working with a client and you're doing an enrollment, a discovery call with them, their risk averse one may come up. It may start to say things like, I have to go check my bank account, or I've got to make sure, what if I don't follow through on it, and then I'd waste my money. But your inner guidance is going, take it. like that part, it's like good to know that may be a part that shows up. All right, next.
Okay, we have 3 more. All right, so the resistor. This one, this is an interesting one. This one, the resistor shows up when we're overwhelmed. It's the knee-jerk no from the place of overwhelm. So like, let's say a new idea pops up and you instantly shut that shit down. There's no room inside of you because the amount of work you have, you don't feel like you can do it all. You don't feel like you're capable. And so it's this like, you feel like you're getting so full that your resistor is like, nope, don't wanna, not gonna, don't have space. This used to come up for me in my old job when I was overwhelmed, and my teacher would be like, or the woman I used to work for would be like, ooh, what if we did this thing? And I would be like, nope. I want to do it. So that's just one to be aware of. And the sacred opportunity for this one is really just cultivating the ability to slow it down, to check in with your inner guidance, and to follow that inner guidance versus that logic, reason checklist. But the slow down is really going to help this one.
Yeah. I will say one thing I will add to this one is like this will often come up when you start to think about, like, especially if you're getting ready to launch a practice and there's things that you don't know how to do, like, oh, I don't know how to do a Zoom call, or I don't know how to set up a web page. And the idea of like, that there's something big out there that you don't need to do, like your resistor will be like, no, I don't, like, forget it, it's too much, no. But meanwhile, your inner guidance is like, go. All right. So the one that longs to belong. So this is the one that's like, I want to belong at all cost. I don't want people in my family to not understand me or not support my decision, or I don't want people to think what I'm doing is weird. I don't want, like, I know a lot of like people in the healing world will be like, it's too woo woo, like, and like that part of you, or like you might have parents that are super practical and have always held a job for 50 years. And then you're like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, or I'm going to like do this thing, and they don't understand it. So they get all freaked out. And there's a part of you that goes, oh, well then, like the one that longs to belong may shut stuff down and be like, it might be really unconscious. It's like an unconscious thing, but our fear of like not being part of that can come up too when you want to be when you want to grow your income, and maybe like you end up like your goals for your income are outside of the realm of like what anyone in your world is even considering, you know, or like, you know, maybe you're talking about wanting to earn a couple $100,000 and most of your family has only earned 70,000, or I don't know, whatever that might be. But it's like that part of us that longs to belong will start to unconsciously do things, or consciously, to stop ourselves so that we stay connected. So we're back again to like the sacred opportunity of this is to cultivate the ability to honor and stand in your truth, and to open up your belief that like that you will stay connected to the people that you're meant to stay connected to, and that you will be loved even when you're honoring your truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I want to say about that is I talked about this a little last week about how some of our basic primary needs are love, safety, and belonging. Yeah. So a lot of these ego pieces stem from that. So if you think about the need to belong, I always think of it, the reason we need to be conscious of these things is that I always think of it like we're kind of like a rubber band, right? Like we're stretching further away. So let's say we're trying to stretch farther than our family stretched before. If we're not looking or being aware consciously of what's going on, if we are afraid that we are going to lose any of those things, we will snap right back to where we were. So that might take the form of like self-sabotage or playing small. Like we might just snap back unless we're constantly taking a look at, okay, what are those pieces that I'm afraid of within those love, safety, belonging areas.
So good.
Okay. Last one. All right, the critical one. Dun, dun, dun. This critical one, oh, this one makes me sad. This is the one that just makes us so wrong. This is the voice that's like, this is just the militant, the one that's standing over you, just like whipping you constantly. This is the like, nothing is ever right. It's calling you a failure. What's wrong with me? You know, if I'm hard on myself, like and it's not meaning to do this. This, again, it's protective. And it's also, sometimes I think that we're raised to think that if we're hard on ourselves, or we kind of view ourselves as inferior, that it will motivate us to do better. And it'll motivate us to like pull ourselves back up. But oftentimes it just punishes us and it stops us. And so this is the one. So the sacred opportunity for this one is really just learning to support yourself and to be more loving with yourself within this. So this critical voice is never going to go away. But again, if we can kind of listen, but also say, I hear you, and kind of put it over there to the side. So that's that one. Okay, so we have gone through them. And so what we want
to popped it in the chat, Lauren, if they want to.
Oh, great. So what we're going to do now is Donna just popped all 9 of them in the chat. And what we'd love for you to do is just write on which one or ones can you most relate to right now-ish in your business building, practice building. When are they showing up? So again, as Donna said, what times are they showing up within your business building? So for me, people pleasing may show up on my enrollment call. The wallflower may show up whenever I'm trying to speak about something, whatever that is. And then just how is it impacting your practice building as those things are coming up? So let's just take 1 to 2 minutes and write about that. You can journal about that.
I don't see it in the chat.
Oh, did it not go through? I'm sorry. It helps if you hit return. The perfectionist in me just came up. Just kidding. Thank you.
Good call out, Dons. I'm also going to put in here the, I'm also going to put in the questions right here.
Maybe take 30 more seconds just for time. I just want to be an encouraging voice, like even as you're becoming aware of them, it's like you might feel overwhelmed, or you might feel frustrated that you have a few. You might feel like stuff might be coming up in relation to this. And just like, the good news is we're getting it conscious. We're getting it visible, because once we know what it is, what's in there, then we can choose to like, oh, I don't have to move from that spot. I can do things to help me move from that spot. So just want to be a voice of encouragement. Like, it's just good to see. John, I think I may have a little bit of everything. Yeah, people, please. See people. For sure, we all have a lot of everything, because it'll come up in different times. Good. Okay, Laura, should we?
Maybe just a few more seconds. Yes. Yeah, let's do it, Dons.
Okay, cool. So as I was saying, just being encouraging, but also it's empowering when we can recognize and work with ourselves and the parts that get activated. It's like you almost become like a ninja, or it's a superpower when you can go, oh, I'm not going to get stopped by this. I can work with it. So it's a skill that can and will be cultivated, especially if you're in the course with us. We're going to be handling that a lot over the next 3 months. And as Lauren said in the beginning, it's hugely helpful when you're enrolling people, because you'll start to notice when others are shutting down or having these other parts rear their head, and you can just lovingly support them, and like, that your truth, that where that's coming from, or is that coming from maybe another part of you that's getting activated? Let's feel into that, and then helping them live into like seeing the distinction between them. So really big superpower to have, and a good skill to cultivate.
Mm-hmm. Donna, I know we're running a little late, but do you think we can just take like 1 or 2 shares on this? Just like 1 or 2 ahas?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Does anyone have something that's come up for them, an aha, something that they'd like to share? Yeah, Elvira. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah.
It helps to unmute myself. So I feel a little bit like Sybil.
Yeah.
Totally.
Who else feels like Sybil? If you know who Sybil is, Sybil's like a movie.
Right. Multiple personality disorder. So I feel, and I realized as we were talking that who runs the show is the rebel, and in a weird way also longing to belong. So to be a rebel that longs to belong seems like fundamentally screwed up. Not screwed up, but yeah, there's some conflict there. But I also, in the moment that the critical one began to point that out to me, I really saw how all that served me.
Yeah.
You know, and how those different aspects have brought me to where I am. So I don't want to dishonor any of it.
Right.
You know, and it's like, no, listen, I will forever be a rebel who longs to be in community. I've been doing it for 71 years. Chances are I'll be doing it for a few more years.
Yeah.
But and the trick is that, okay, so how do I how does it become my ally in this new paradigm that I'm inventing?
Yes.
Yes.
So it's such a good point about like these parts have served us and can serve us, and in their healthy versions, if they're not getting in the way, then it's not a problem.
Right.
If they're serving you, great. You know, sometimes we call on different parts of ourselves. It's more when it becomes a shadow side and it's stopping you is when you want to work with it differently. If it's moving you along, like if my rebel needs to come up a little bit when I'm off, right, you know, when I'm like stepping outside my comfort zone, like, and it gives me that little boost, great. But if it's when it stops you. So I think you did a great job of like acknowledging it served you in some ways. So it's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think we saw Hannah Hector's.
Yeah, and then maybe we'll do Hannah and then Elaine.
Hey guys, wow, this is amazing. Thank you for this space. I love you both so much.
I love you too.
So what's coming up for me is overly responsible one and critical one. Like anything where I can like punish myself the most is like, I mean, the guilt, the shame, like, but a lot of these have served me, like to Elvira's point. I'm like, oh, I recognize how this has like really helped me kick ass and like, you know, stay committed. But yeah, anything that like I find myself wrong so easily, especially because it's like I'm creating something that I've never seen before, and there's no blueprint for it, and I love that part of it, but I'm also constantly like, am I doing this right? And why
Right.
didn't you do it like this? Why wasn't this perfect? Like, I'm trying to run a business here. Like, this is my livelihood. Like,
Right.
why is this not, why, and then why is it not all flowing? I'm doing all these things right, then why is it not all flowing to me like I want it to?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, shame and like, well, I've been so perfect. Where is it? Where is it? You know?
Right.
Yeah, it's
Right.
coming up. Thank you guys for illuminating all of this.
Yeah, our pleasure. Thanks
So
for being on,
good.
Hannah.
Yeah.
Happy you're
So
here.
beautiful.
And by the way, I'm going to give a shout out to Hannah Pector, who's doing amazing work, anti-racism work called The Kinswoman. She has a podcast. Just want to shout her out. It's amazing work. She's taught me a huge amount as well. So
Thank you so
shouting
much.
Hannah out.
I want to say it's not
Could you
just,
put your,
I do it with a Black woman. So I don't want to center myself in that space. We're very much a partnership. But thank you, Lauren, so much for saying that.
could you
Right,
put the
Elaine.
contact info in the chat? I'd love to check out your podcast.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right, Elaine, you wanna finish off this section?
Sure, I'll say it real succinctly. It's just interesting. I've seeing how they layer upon each other. Like, I really felt definitely people pleaser. I haven't raised my rates in many years, and it's ridiculous. And I know I need to. I mean, that's just like, I'm so just afraid that they'll leave me, even though we have a 10-year relationship. I mean, it's ridiculous. But at any rate, the over-responsible one mixed with the critical and the perfectionist,
Right,
what it does is I don't actually do anything because I'm in a fear of the whole risk taking. And so I feel over responsible mixed with the perfectionist, and then I don't do anything. And I'm just sitting here
And then it's just like,
for fucking 3 years. Yes. But anyway, I really appreciate just the underneath, because it's never about the stuff that's happening. It's never about the feelings you have about the stuff that you're getting or not getting and that you want or don't want. And it's always about that underlying, that inner, the belief system and the whole,
always.
the neurochemistry of what's happening in your body when you have those feelings. And I just really appreciate how you're just getting underneath it. I love it.
Thank you. And
Thank
again,
you.
we're not going to stay here. So if you hang in with us for the next 3 months, like, we want to go through, like, that is the goal. We are uncovering all this shit, but we don't want to stay in this place. We're going to the promised land. Donna, should we wrap it up a little bit? I just want to be conscious of people's time.
Yes, I definitely.
So I just want to say, so we would love, we haven't had a lot of time because we've been wanting to pack these calls, but we would love to have the opportunity for anyone who's interested to really tell you a little bit more. We keep referring to the 3-month program, but I know people have had questions about what does it entail specifically? What am I going to get from it? Any specific questions? So Donna and I are going to hang on the line after this call for anyone that just has any questions, wants to know a little bit more, so you can just gather more info in an easy way. So that's
And if you can't stay on and you want to watch, then you'll be able to watch the recording. Like, you have to go at 1, we'll have it on the recording, so you can just know to go after an hour and then go back and listen to it. Yeah.
Great. And then there's a few other ways that we just want to talk to you about next steps that you can take with us. So there's a few things coming down the pike. So the first thing is, and as I'm saying these next few things, I want to call out that as we're teaching you, we want to show you what's coming up for yourself so you can recognize it in your clients. As we talk about the next few things we're offering, feel into yourself what might be feeling in alignment versus what might be coming up from those other stories. Like, are you hearing something that you're interested in? Is your inner rebel trying to shut it down? Is your inner resistor trying to shut it down? Just start to listen for what's coming forward for you. And the other thing I want to mention is sometimes if we're feeling resistance towards things, it means that we are curious about it. But again, we have a lot of fear coming up. So, so just listen for what's going on for you. So a few things coming up. So next week we have our final call in this mini series. Again, it's going to be on Friday at noon. And this one is actually going to be modeling something that we're doing in our class. We're going to be doing clarity calls in our class, which are coaching sessions, so that we can really get in there one-on-one with each of you and start to look at and coach you on where you're at. And so we wanted to do a model one next week. So we're going to be doing a clarity style call from 12 to 1 next week. So you can register for that as you have been, and we will send out the email for that, for any information there. And also we'll send out within that email, if you have questions, if you can't be on the call, but you want to get a question answered, or if you just want to ask your question in advance, we would love that. And we will send that out this week in an email. Also, if you are feeling the pull for this class, if you've been on a bunch of these calls and you are like, I'm a yes, I want to do this, I'm ready, Donna's going to go ahead and put the link in the chat, so you can just go ahead and register if you want. And another thing to notice, again, I always like this strategy. So if you're a yes, you know you're a yes. If you're a no, the way you know that you're a no is if you're not really feeling anything, you're like, no, this isn't for me. Thank you so much. That's great. And then the way you know you might need a conversation is if you're on the fence and you're like kind of in that like wobbly indecision place of like, well, maybe, or if you feel a lot of resistance coming up. So if that's you, if that's the case, email us at info@thesacredsustainablepractice.com, and we will set up a time to chat with you, and we can just, you know, dive in on any questions you have and help you figure it out. And then the last thing that Donna and I wanted to do is for those of you that are on the fence, we can have a full enrollment conversation, but also we wanted to offer this to the first 10 people that just let us know. We really want to help you move forward. So we want to open up a space for 10 of you to have a one-on-one coaching session with either Donna or myself that isn't as enrollment based, but it literally is on what's coming up for you in your practice. How can we help you move through the knothole? So you can get more of a clear sense of our coaching and how we work with people and if it will be helpful for you. So if you're one of those people that really just wants to see how we coach one-on-one, then you can go ahead and email us at info@thesacredsustainablepractice.com by Monday at noon, and we can set up one of those conversations as well.
Can I clarify something there, Lauren?
Yeah,
just to make
please
sure
do.
it's clear. So this isn't just like, I want a free, it is like, if you're someone that's like, I can see that this course could be really helpful, but I'm not sure if it would be helpful for the particular spot I'm stuck in. So I want to get on the phone with Donna or Lauren to like have them coach me through it. And also we will be talking about like, is there a way within that like the course could support you? So we are going to, it's based on like, you're ready to move forward. It's not just like, oh, I'd love a free coaching call. Not that we don't love doing those, but like, it's mostly the 10 spots are for people who are like, I'm really like, oh, this, I could see that this would be really good for me, but I need a little bit more of an experience or a little bit more clarity on this will walk me through that. So does that make sense? Lauren, anything you would want to?
Yeah, no, that sounds great.
Okay.
That sounds great. Oh my gosh, we are so good with our timing. Talk about
Look at that.
responsible. 1 o'clock, baby. Okay, so for those of you that want to hang on the line and just hear a little bit more, we'll walk you through a little bit of the nuances of the class and then answer any questions that you've got. So hang on if you want to. For those of you, we're so grateful that you all were on the call. This is just like, it makes our weeks. We're just so delighted to spend this hour with you and hope that we could provide some helpful information. So anyway, we're so grateful. Join us next week. We'll see you next week at noon on Friday, and we will hang here for a little bit longer.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. See who hangs on. Oh, look at that. You're still a lot of people.
Hello,
I
everyone.
gotta run, but thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Thank you so much. I just had to say that. Bye.
Oh, thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Elaine.
John's like, I got a question.
Oh,
Give us
yeah. All right.
question, John
Why don't we
Ruby.
start with, let's just get down and dirty with the questions and then we can answer more. Maybe.
Fantastic. Thank you. Hey, all excellent. Fantastic. I love it. My big question is, been doing this for a while. I'm really good at what I do. Got some awesome clients moving in the right direction. And I feel like I've processed the shit out of my life. And so I really hear you about getting onto the other side. So I did appreciate everything you said about all those different parts. I can see that being really, really helpful. So I guess the confirmation I want to hear is moving through, or something like that, or however you'd say it.
Can you tell me a little bit more, John? It's a great question. Can you tell me a little bit more about where it's feeling stuck for you, or where you're feeling like it's needing to move?
It just keeps coming back. It should be happening faster. I've done it for a while. I've got incredible video and written testimonies. I've had people pay me pretty high fees. I've got somebody she was smoking marijuana every day for 15 years, and now doesn't even think about it. And so it's all, and it's just like, come on, like, like this, like, I don't know, connecting more, putting myself out more, explaining my value and deliver so the bottom line is the judgment, upsetness is like a frustration of, why is this, or what do I need to do? Like, what is good God, man, it seems like I've taken the steps, and obviously I haven't. I mean, the logic part is like, well, obviously you haven't, or at least you haven't taken enough of them because you're not there. So I don't know.
That's great. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, John, it's like as we know from the University of Santa Monica, and I will premise, your work is great. I don't think it's about more steps. I don't think it's about any of that. It's like there is it's only coming forward. You're only stopped there because there's still something that has not been looked at and worked with, even though you've processed the shit out of it. And some of these are frustrating because it's like, when it's not moving, we can move to like, it feels annoying. It's like, like Hannah was saying, it's like, I have all these things to do. Like, why isn't it happening with flow? And it's like really looking at the sacred opportunity. It's like, okay, well, if it's not about more action, what inside of me is like, what beliefs do I have of like, or like, what do you think is stopping you? Like, if you were to like, look at it, like, what's the thing that you actually think is stopping you?
I guess that's kind of simple, actually. It's like a real ownership of what I do, and the like I haven't, even though I have the testimony and like I haven't put it out there yet. So there's like this the next step that I do see is like the real ownership of, this is what I do and this is how great it is, and it may be for you and it may not be, and that's fine, but just a really yeah. So does that make, so there's either some hesitation or fear of owning this is what I do and I'm good at.
Yeah. Could there also be something in there around, I had something one time, I used to teach this class for Barbara Stanny. It's called Overcoming Under Earning. And for like, I don't know, months, I would enroll people, things were just flowing, things were happening, and then everything stopped. And I was like, okay, I'm taking all the steps, I'm doing all the right things, I'm talking to people, and nothing is moving. And I just noticed this frustration kept coming up inside me. I was like, what the fuck? I'm doing everything I know to do and it's not happening. And I realized I had this huge thing come up around me and God, where I was like, you love, clearly that person over there is filling their practice with no problem. That person over there has the boyfriend. That person over, like, I started realizing how I was holding that the divine loved other people more than me. Like, that was how it showed up for me. Or like this beef of like, how much more can I possibly do and you're not helping me? Like, there was this underlying like frustration. And once I saw it and let it rip, like I had to do a lot of freeform writing on it. I did a lot of release work around it. All of a sudden things started flowing again. So it's really looking at, in this course where we keep bringing it back to like, anything that's happening is happening for us, and we just haven't uncovered what's the thing that like is wanting. It's why it's sacred. It's like your coaching practice is helping you look at how you turn on yourself, how you put yourself down, how you get defeated, which we all, who else can relate to that? Like we can all relate to that part. So it's like, that's why we, in this container, it's like, we're not going to process things to death. It's more like in service to us moving.
Right.
What's here now and how do I move through that? So
Yeah.
Is that any resonance?
Yeah, no, I totally appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I mean, what really came forward was the idea of sort of two things. It shouldn't be this hard, and I've done all this work already.
Right,
So sort of like the thing of like it sounds silly to say out loud, but it should be easier now.
Right.
And since it's not, there's like this upset, frustration, and I think a little bit of the first time I'm thinking of, but a little bit of the rebel then kicking in.
Yeah.
Of like, come on, I've already done
that.
Right. Middle fingers up.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Which then stops me from taking the action, which then doesn't help.
Right. And then if you're taking the action, if you do take the action and that's running beneath the surface, then that's what you're getting back.
Right.
If you're running back, if it's still in there, it's hard. I've done everything. Then there's like this like attitude, which is like the energy that like you can't come in on. So
When it's also the energetic, oh, sorry, Don.
that's okay. I was just gonna say that's the type of thing that we're gonna be doing in the program. Is like that's why we're having the clarity calls, because it's like we're gonna teach, and then almost it's like I think not every week, but we have a bunch of these clarity
Every other
calls put in throughout the program so that we can get to things like that. It's like we can logically take in that information, but then how are we? And we'll have homework sheets and journal writing and things that people can do to like get to where they are right now.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And one thing I just wanted to add too is that energy then translates into, so for you, John, the kind of nervousness around owning it, that comes into the way we speak about it, the way we enroll for it, that even just the energy, the thing that people sense about us, like they can sniff it out, which, and I used to feel like that when I used to enroll. Like, again, when my people pleaser would come out, people could sniff it out. And once I could really stand in my offer, stand in my truth, it's like some sexy shit. You're like, ooh, like I want what she's got. So some of what we're going to do too is how do you apply then? So you're realizing for yourself, okay, I want to take more ownership. So then we're looking at how do you cultivate that ownership? And then how do you then bring it into, like we're going to be looking at, how do I talk to people about my work? How do I generate clients? How do I have enrollment conversations that are powerful? So it's like generating your ahas and then putting them into practice with how you can then speak it in the world in a different way. I can already see it on you in a different way. As I'm saying this, I can see it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It totally makes, I can feel that. It's yeah. I'm looking forward to being more sexy.
Yes. That's perfect.
My sister will appreciate that.
Oh yeah. That goes for all of us. We own our badass motherfuckery, then shit can happen. And I think too, part of this course, for Donna and I, we love containers. I mean, both of us love coaching people individually too, but it is that, like, it's that energy in which we feed off each other. We're all like, oh yeah, I'm a badass motherfucker. Are you a badass motherfucker? Yeah, I am. Or like, then we get to like fuel each other. We're also doing, what are we calling them down at practice?
Oh, this actually came from John. I'm an artist, so I steal from people. Just kidding. No, but my brother-in-law teaches classes every week called Let's Create Tuesday to help people cultivate creativity. And it's like a place where and I think Leah, you do some version of co-working in your business, right? In Joomer? Yeah. So like what we decided is we created this thing called Practice Building Power Hours, where every week we're going to have an hour where everyone can come on, be on Zoom together and go off and do things to build your practice. And for that week, it might be you make a list of the people you want to contact. It could be that you're actually making a phone call during that time while your Zoom camera's off. You might be needing to journal with the part of you that's the rebel, that's like not like, it's like, what can you do during that hour each week where you're getting an opportunity, like you get the energy of the group, you get the ability to like just be together while you're taking action. Because I know for me, especially so many of us being solopreneurs, it's like, it's really easy to like let that slide off your schedule. But if you know you have an hour every week where everybody's doing it, and there's like a way of coming together, it just helps build the practice, like gets it more into a rhythm into your week, and a focus on your practice. So yeah, John, thanks for the idea.
Yes, thank you, John.
You're
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you.
We want to take a few minutes, Laura, to go through like the actual structure, because it's so people, if they need to go, and then we can stay on for questions.
Sure, yeah.
Sound good?
Yeah. Do you want to do it or do you want me to do it?
I would love for you to do it. If you don't
Oh,
mind.
okay. I do not mind. Spent a career doing this shit. Yeah. So we've talked about it a little bit, but the basic structure of the classes, we are going to be, part of the course is going to be taking a look at, really, like we talked about, the structures and the practices to really get the underneath of the old limiting beliefs. How do we then cultivate really aligning our business with our deeper truth, with our inner wisdom, step by step? How do we build it? When we fall out of it, how do we get back into alignment with it? That goes to everything from, what is how do we like to do our business? What does it look like to be authentically us while we are running our business? I think oftentimes we can look in the world. I've made this mistake before where I'm like, how do I want to do my business? And then I look at other people's websites and then I'm like, fuck me. And I run away because it's not my way. And so we're going to be looking at too, like, what is your way of doing business? How do we encourage, energize you, look at the things that are blocking it so that we can kind of get you back out into the world? So that's kind of one side of things. We'll be looking at ego versus soul, alignment. How do you align your pricing, your offer, all of those different pieces with who you are in your powerful, authentic self? And then we're going to be looking at, it's kind of where the spiritual meets the practical. Then we'll be looking at, how do you get into the creativity of generating your clients? How do you have really strong enrollment conversations? And what is that language? I am so big on I'm going to give you all a call script for things you can take from that so that you can have really powerful enrollment conversations. How do you write those emails so that they are coming from, and you're going to be aware of those places where they're coming from. We'll also be looking at the attachment or non-attachment of your business. So how do you ride the waves of energetic around, of not being attached to your clients or getting clients? It is such a ride. That is such a ride, and it's such a skill to learn how to do that. And so we're going to be taking a look at all of those things. The class is going to be structured over 12 weeks. So most of them are going to be weekly classes. We'll do an hour-and-a-half teaching class. We're going to be doing an hour-and-a-half teaching class from 7 to 8:30 on Mondays or Tuesdays if there's Eastern time. Then Fridays, we're going to have a clarity call where, again, you can pop on every other week to just really, we'll do group coaching. And then we have those practice building power hours every week. And then we are going to be doing a weekend on the process of enrollment and generating enrollment. So that'll be really fun as well. And again, we're going to have some fun with this. So I just want to say, like, I could hear in myself saying that, a weekend of enrollment, you're like, oh God, that sounds like not exciting. But I promise you, it will feel exciting and it will free you up to do all sorts of beautiful things. And we're going to make it fun as well. So those are the structures. The course is, so the full 3-month course is in full, it's $2,500. And then if you want to do an installment plan, it's 2 monthly payments of $1,325 as well.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything, Dons?
I don't think so. Did great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions from people?
Questions, comments, takeaways? My cat's biting my feet because it wants to eat and it's driving me crazy. You see me.
Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, if there's no other questions, then we will let y'all go. But if you have any, feel free to email us or we can set up a time to talk. But I love you all. Thank you for sticking around. And
Thank you.
we're grateful for you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Leah.